We'll call this meeting of the Gallatin Planning Commission to order, and we will start with an invocation and a pledge of allegiance. Albert, if you'd mind blessing our meeting, and CJ, if you'll do the pledge for us.
Let us bow. Father, we bow before you, thanking you for this organization, for what we stand for, our community. And as we stand by, we're asking your blessings on those persons in California who have lost everything. We're praying for the families in Nashville who lost loved ones. But we ask, O Master, that you watch over our community. Keep us in your care, O Master. And we'll give you all honor, glory, and praise. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mary Ann, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Chair Harris.
Here.
Vice Chair Morrell.
Here.
Mr. Pereira.
Here.
Mayor Brown. Present. Councilman Fan.
Here.
Mr. Strother.
Here.
Mr. Thompson.
Here.
You have a floor.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Next on the agenda, do we have minutes for the to present, sir?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have two sets of minutes, those dated December 2nd, 2024 Planning Commission work session and December 16th Planning Commission regular agenda meeting minutes. And I make a motion that we approve them without changes.
Second.
I got a motion, a second to approve the minutes without changes. Any comments, questions? All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? All right, passes unanimously. All right, next item on our agenda is elections of officers for the 2025 year. So who wants my job? No, I'm more than willing to serve as chairman again if that's what you wish.
I nominate Matt Harris as chairman and John Purrier as secretary.
I second.
All right. And I'll add a nomination for CJ to serve as vice chairman again.
I'll make a motion that we approve those nominations to approve this current slate of officers moving forward.
All right, I'll second that. It's the easier way to do it. So, okay. Anybody else want to stick their hand up? All right. All right. So take a vote to keep the officers the same as they were last year. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Looks like I'm hired again. Next item on the agenda is public comments on agenda-related items. I will point out on the consent agenda, and I believe items 6 and 7, the banks at Lock 4, that applicant has deferred those. That's correct.
Request deferral.
Okay, so if you're here to speak on those two items, just know they're deferred. They will not be on tonight's meeting agenda. So with that, I'll open public comment on agenda-related items. Anybody wishing to speak, this is your time. Seeing no one wishing to speak, we'll close public comment on agenda items, and we will move on to the consent agenda, which is items 1 through 7. However, 6 and 7 have been deferred. So I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, and a second by CJ. All right, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consent agenda is approved. And that's going to take us to item 8 on our regular agenda, resolution 2025-002, 217 Peach Valley Private Detached Garage.
Good evening, Commissioners. Brad Hickman, Staff Planner. The owner and applicant request approval of a site plan for a 1,200 square foot accessory structure with alternative architecture on a 0.93 acre lot zoned R40, low density residential district located at 217 Peach Valley Point. The applicant during work session was requested to provide a nearby structure, which we can see here, and you can just about see it from their property, although it is in the county, and it's across the road here. There are several others on other streets, but this is the closest one. We've also got measurements. It falls within the setbacks. And there's just a review of the metal architecture. The planning department recommends denial of the resolution based off the architecture with the following two conditions.
All right, thank you. Do we have a representative for the applicant or the applicant themselves here with us? Hey, good evening. You just state your name and address for the record.
Max Edwards, 217 Peach Valley Point, Gallatin.
Okay. I don't see any problems with this, you know. All right, so you understand, it's only here because they have to deny it based on the architecture
Yeah,
standards. So-
I understand that. It's just want to build a garage.
Yeah, I got it. All right, we've got a motion approved by Albert. I'll second the motion. What did you say? Oh. All right, we have a motion to second. All those in favor of approving the garage, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Good day.
Item 9 is Resolution 2025-003, 519 Redstone Drive detached garage.
Good evening, Commissioners. Charlie Peary, Staff Planner. The owner and applicant is requesting approval of a site plan for 960 square foot accessory structure with alternative architecture on a half-acre lot zoned as R15, medium-density residential, located at 519 Redstone Drive. When we were here last, we talked about how the building separation needs to be at least 12 feet, so the applicant has already addressed that. They resubmitted an updated plan, but it has not been processed yet. As far as any accessory structures of the similar nature in surrounding properties, there are none. However, on Grandstand or Greystone, which is like the street right next to the subdivision, there are several metal buildings, some of which are similar in size and others are much larger. With that being said, the Planning Department recommends denial of resolution at 2025-003. The applicant is present.
All right, thank you. Representative for the applicant.
Austin Christian, just came up to get closer to the vote.
Have you had a chance to see the conditions of approval? Are you guys okay with those?
Yeah, just moving it to the 12 feet versus the 10 feet was, I think, the big thing.
Yeah, that was a big thing. There's a,
That we resubmitted, I think, a week or so ago, and with the updated setback off the house.
okay, so then you saw condition 5 about providing water quality and stormwater detention on the property?
Do not remember seeing that, but if that's the case, then absolutely. You're talking about like silt fencing and things like that?
No. Engineering, you guys want to explain what you're asking them to do? Because this was not brought up at the work session, so I wanted to make sure that they are aware of what they're being asked to do.
So that's a condition that comes from our stormwater ordinance, basically on lots that increase the impervious area greater than 800 square feet. We'll need to do some sort of water quality to detain that excess. That can be like bioretention. There are other methods that you can talk to our stormwater folks. That's Ryan Fort or Lance Wagner to get different options that are approved to handle that excess water quality. But that's where that comes from.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, we can get with those people and do what we need to do. Sure.
Let me, go ahead, John.
Honestly, I missed that condition. Is that for any structure that adds more than 800 square feet, or is that specific to this property?
That's a standard comment that is made on redevelopments or things that add more than 800 square feet of impervious area.
So, just out of curiosity, if somebody goes and pours 900 square feet of extra driveway on their house, how do you make them comply with that?
If it's not associated with a site plan, it's difficult to do that. I do know with the stormwater utility fee, I don't know how often they look at the lots, but if there's an increase in pervious area that takes you from, say one category where your fee is $5 a month and now push you into one that's the next category, then that's how that could be impacted.
So the threshold is 800. Any building, any of these accessory buildings that we talk about approving, if they're more than 800, that's going to trigger this number?
That's correct. And as I understand it, our stormwater group has been making that comment consistently on those that are above that.
Does it also depend on how large the lot is?
That does have something to play
I mean,
into as well.
if you're putting an 800 square foot, larger than an 800 square foot building on like a 5-acre lot or a 1-acre lot, then there's also a percentage basis of how large the lot is that could,
So it's the building ratio to
Yeah.
lot square footage? You might want, before you agree to that condition, you might want to look into what it is, and you might want to ask for a deferral.
That's interesting because in terms of like the whole 800 square foot triggering it, this is what, the 15th time I've been up here, and I don't build a structure less than 800 square feet, and that's never popped up. So that's interesting to see that on this one.
Have you've permitted those and you've built them and?
Yeah, I'm talking about the ones that we've voted on in here.
there's been multiple in the last year I know of that has gone through.
But is that because this is a pretty small lot?
Yeah.
I'm saying it's because it's over 800 square feet. And that's
No,
what the law says.
it has to do with the ratio of the building size to the overall lot size. It's.
Yeah, because if we're
Is that
talking
what
about
you're saying, CJ?
bioretention, like
Well,
ponds
I mean,
and things
there's
like
there's
that.
multiple caveats whenever you're talking about increasing impervious area. I mean, I know the city of Gallatin has to adhere to the MS4 requirements for TDEC, and there's multiple bullet points that you have to follow. I know historically, up until the last little bit, if you weren't disturbing over an acre, you could get away with a lot more stuff. But with the MS4 permit being revised, that may not be the case.
And I will say that with the stormwater regulations, it's not something that we have the latitude to waive on that.
Sure.
I mean, so you might want to go look into that before you accept that condition.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean, I was under the impression that we were talking about some sort of just like a silt fence around the disturbed area or something throughout the construction phase. But if we're talking about potential,
Bioponds are not cheap.
right, yeah. I'm
it's-
dealing with that on several other projects and that, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to tell you that ain't happening.
It's probably not going to be as big of a biopond. There's other things that can be done to satisfy the water quality, but
Rain gardens and some things.
yeah, rain gardens and stuff like that are lesser.
It's still more expensive than the entire structure combined.
And then this does back up to the
no.
creek, doesn't it?
I think to Mr. Pereira's point, you may be wise to ask to defer this 30 days and find out what it is, and make sure it's going to work. And if there's an alternate that that works, that is, there may be. As they give you the opportunity to explore if there's an alternate that you need to come back and ask for a slight variance on something, we could work it out. But if we approve it this way, it's at the mercy of what do they tell you have to do.
Okay.
And a 790 square foot building might be an option.
Okay. All right, so I guess defer it another 30 days? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, you have to request it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not putting a biopond in, so we'll have to figure something else out, I guess. I didn't see that on there. That's my fault, if that was on there.
Do we need to vote to grant?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the applicant's request for a 30-day deferral to investigate the matter.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to accept the applicant's request to defer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Thanks. Item 10 is Resolution 2025-005, GG Market Alternative Site Plan.
Yes, the applicant is requesting approval of an alternative sign plan for Gigi's Market. This is located at the corner of South Water and Witherspoon. The reason the sign is coming in front of Planning Commission is due to the proximity of the future digital sign to single-family residences. The sign will only be digital for the numbers to change the gas prices digitally versus having them be, have to change them out physically. And I did include a exhibit showing the distance requirement. Digital signs typically can only have to be outside 250 feet of a single-family residence.
I'm sorry.
Okay. And this is at the corner, like right at the corner of Witherspoon and Southwater. And so there aren't really any single family like right adjacent to it. I don't think you're going to have a huge light issue, but that is why it came in front of this board. You are in a commercial corridor. You're not dealing with anything that's a hugely residential area. They are going to bring the sign down from its current height down to 8 feet max, which is a requirement that we have for digital signs when you convert an old sign to a digital sign, which will be an improvement at this corner as well. And the staff does recommend approval of this alternative sign plan with 2 conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see the applicant.
Shinoda Faragalla, 617 Southwater Avenue, Gallatin.
Okay. You're okay with the 2 conditions for the approval?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I think this is all right.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Mr. Fan, second. I heard CJ first, so he gets this one. All right, motion to approve. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Item 11 is Resolution 2024-119 RCH James Street, site plan.
The owner and applicant request approval of a site plan for RCH James Street for an 11,550 square foot building on a 3.67 acre lot zoned CG Commercial General District located east of Southwater Avenue and south of James Street. You can see the flag lot here. They wish to put these 2 existing, they wish to put 1 here along with adjoining parking places. Staff did have some concerns around them using natural growth for buffer yard. We put it as one of the conditions. Upon inspection, I did not find any natural growth that would compensate for a buffer yard in this area. We'll let the applicant speak more to that. And we have our architecture. The Planning Department recommends approval of resolution with the following 8 conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a representative for the applicant?
Ferguson, Greenland Design. We agreed to all staff comments. Here to answer any questions.
Just made that a lot easier.
Yeah. Motion to approve with all staff comments.
All right, got a motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Any debate, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah, all right, thanks. Item 12 is Resolution 2025-006 Tulip Poplar Mini Storage Site Plan.
Thank you. Kimberly Atlee, staff planner. The owner applicant is requesting approval for a site plan for store place Tulip Poplar Mini Storage. It's located at 1172 Tulip Poplar Drive. It's on 3.63 acres in a zone commercial services. And a little history on this, the storage facility is a limited warehouse activity, so it does require conditional use. So I provided a little history on there, but to give you a quick overlay, in 2021, there was a conditional use that was approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals, and then also a site plan was approved during this time. Fast forward to 2024, November, they have come back for another conditional use for an expansion. So they're going to change the layout and they're expanding it, so that's the reason why that. They are including a 3-story climate control storage building and an office building. Today, the applicant is requesting to amend the site plan for this three-story building and including that 1,195 square foot office building. BZA had a condition in there that to make sure that to ensure that there was 30 feet between the buildings, which we have verified that that has been taken care of. What is now is consistent is that we are replacing 3 buildings, and they are, so the total of 5 buildings with 10 by 20, 5 buildings with a 10 by 15. They're going to keep the RV storage unit for the total square footage of outdoor would be 52,045 square feet. They have met their minimum parking of 14 with their ADA. The architectural design was reviewed and approved during the BZA architectural design for the expansion. So that has been approved. They will be doing primarily brick, stone, and they will be using the earth tone colors. As requested during the commission, you guys asked to make sure, during the work session, that the applicant provide a roof screening on the HVAC. The applicant is providing documentation as where they will be doing that. The other item would be the stormwater detention. The bio pond is up in the northwest corner. They're up near the Poplar Road. This is being taken care of with a lot of landscaping, so that looks good. The stormwater just wanted to make sure that there were some cross sections in there to show how the retaining wall was going to be soundly secure. Other than that, planning staff recommends the resolution.
Thank you. Representative for the applicant, please.
Mr. Ferguson, Greenland Design. We agreed to all staff comments. Here to answer any questions.
Okay. And do you see any problems getting the parapet walls or things necessary?
Yeah,
to
I
screen those?
actually have a letter from the architect, basically stating that he's confirmed that the parapets are going to be able to cover the HVAC screen or the HVAC units on 109.
Okay.
And I'll include that in our resubmittal.
Okay. Yeah, and that's in here as condition 2, just to ensure that happens. So I think we've got that well documented. Yeah, that was the only concern I had with this one. Anybody else have any questions for the applicant?
Sir.
No? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve with all staff comments.
All right.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second to approve with all of staff's comments, and there are 10 of those. All those in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, it's approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item 13 is Resolution 2025-007, Hidden Creek Commons Infrastructure, Final Master Development Plan.
The owner and applicant requests approval of a final master development plan for Hidden Creek Commons infrastructure containing 2 private drives on 2 parcels totaling 8.72 acres, zoned MRO, multiple residential and office, located north of Provine Boulevard and east of Big Station Camp Boulevard. Staff recommends approval of Resolution 2025-007 with 8 conditions.
All right, thank you, sir. And do we have a representative for the applicant?
Eric Parle, with Reagan Smith, 1500 Medical Center Parkway, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. We agree with all staff comments and happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, the comments seem pretty routine cleanup things for the plan. And so this is just getting the infrastructure in for these lots at this time. So, yeah, I mean, it seems pretty straightforward to me. So I'll make a motion to approve with staff's 8 conditions of approval.
I'll second.
All right, second by Mr. Pereira. Any debate, questions?
Very straightforward.
All right, call for the vote. All those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Item 14 is Resolution 2025-008, Savannah Marketplace Alternative Sign Plan.
Yes, the applicant is requesting approval of an alternative sign. This is associated with Savannah West Phase 4. This is the current site of ML Rose at Edley's Rock and Dough. Due to slope issues on the front of this property and a 20-foot wide White House utility easement that is being actively used, They have not been able to install a sign up closer to the roadway that would meet, one, be visible, and also meet all of our standards. So their solution to this, they have talked with staff a number of times about it, is to do a much taller sign than code would permit. Code would only allow a 12-foot tall sign typically, but put it much lower next to the existing retaining wall so that the sign itself is still under 12 foot tall, but the support would be substantially taller, being, I believe, 11 feet tall, with landscaping and things like that to make it blend in with the retaining wall that's already on site. Otherwise, the sign really isn't visible. And with a number of new shops in there, they are working to make sure that they are visible from the right-of-way and that people know where to come in. So this would be a revision to their FMDP to add this sign for Planning Commission review. And staff does recommend approval of this request with one condition.
Ma'am, do you have a representative for the applicant?
Good evening, Nick Church with the Capital Corporation and Legate Retail Partners.
Assuming you're in agreement with their condition of approval?
No problem whatsoever.
Okay. Yeah, we covered this at the work session. I think this is it's a great solution for the situation you guys have, so I like it. I've got a motion to approve by Albert.
Second.
Second by CJ. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Sign's approved. Thank you, sir.
you all.
Have a great night. Okay, item 15 is resolution 2025-009, Nichols Place Phase 4 amended preliminary master development plan.
The owner and applicant request approval of an amended preliminary master development plan and revised final master development plan for Nichols Place Phase 4 on a portion of a 9.98 acre parcel zoned MRO, multiple residential and office district, located south of Nichols Lane and east of Ferguson Boulevard. The applicant basically had to remove one unit from each of these three clusters of townhomes and added some parking due to a stormwater placement here that encroached on this phase. Staff didn't really have any other comments other than cleanup. There is some question around a couple of conditions around Ferguson Boulevard being extended to the border of the property, but engineering speak further on that. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. The Planning Department recommends approval of resolution with the following 8 conditions. Thank you.
And this item does come with a public hearing, and seeing the applicant being the only person left in the room, I'm going to open a public hearing. Seeing nobody wanting to speak in a public hearing, I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for the applicant.
Luke Talley with CSDG, and we agree with most staff comments, but would love to hear more from engineering on the Ferguson Boulevard extension. Guess that's one we, with this being phase 4 of the project, we had previous approvals where Ferguson Boulevard kind of terminated where it's shown and has been shown for a few years at this point. So just love any input on what staff would like to say on that.
Yeah, so currently, I don't know if we have a good view of where Ferguson ends as opposed to the property line. I believe this goes back to maybe phase 2 of Nichols Place, where they showed Ferguson Boulevard. And typically, when we see a public street, we ask that it gets extended to the property line. And I believe there was maybe some discussion at the Planning Commission meeting when that came through to end it where it is shown here. And I know with the Kirkpatrick property that was coming through to that development, we had no idea about the Wheeler property, about how the alignment of the Clear Lake Meadows Boulevard extension would look. And with Kirkpatrick, them having adjacent property, there was a potential to sort of realign even where Ferguson ends right now, to make that connection down to the banks at Lot 4 development. But with the Wheeler project coming through, it's better alignment if Ferguson Boulevard extends to its property line, goes through the Wheeler, and ties into Kirkpatrick, rather than what was originally shown with the Kirkpatrick development. And this is the last phase of the Nichols Place, which is why that we're asking that Ferguson Boulevard be extended to the true property limit.
I remember having this conversation a couple of times when this went through, and the rationale for stopping the road where it's currently shown on the plans was because it was unclear how the property would develop adjacent to it, but, and not sure where the alignment was going to happen. So I remember having all those conversations, but, when Aaron's saying, I mean, now we have an idea of how all that's about to happen. So I don't think it's unreasonable to ask that the road get extended to the property line, because that's what would have happened without this conversation. Does that make sense? So
It does. I guess our somewhat heartburn over it is we still haven't been provided with what that is. So we've been operating under the assumption that the Kirkpatrick Park property would be coming up almost middle of phase 1 to make that tie-in. So it's somewhat of a tough call at this point.
it makes sense. Let me ask, engineering, is the concern just making sure that who pays to get that last piece of road built once it's all established? Is that primarily what the concern is?
Yeah, because when, if somebody shows a road not going to their property line, like, oh, well, the neighboring development will complete that, and then, oh, well, that's on somebody else's property. So that's why we always make the requirement to construct it to the property line.
But we still don't know where it's going to need to connect with Wheeler and all that. We still don't really know where that road's going to hit this, do we?
We don't formally know that because it's not part of an approved plan yet.
Okay.
We've been in meetings, though, with the folks that are going to be the builder on that site, and they've stated to us that they don't want to go on that sliver of land that takes you on the S-curve back up through to connect in. They would like to stay on the original alignment for Ferguson or
Okay.
Clear Lake Meadows, whichever road name you want to call it. So with the knowledge now that the Wheeler property is on the agenda for annexation, and that property would eventually move forward as long as that annexation goes through in a couple weeks or a week and a half now. I think it would be safe to assume that that alignment would be the correct alignment.
The straight alignment, as opposed to the S-curve alignment, was always the preferred route. The S-curve was kind of threading the needle to try to make something work. But we shouldn't make them build this until we have a PMDP or even more than that on the Wheeler property, because, I mean, the topography could change. You don't know what grade to hit.
Has the right-of-way already been dedicated?
It has.
I mean,
As part of the original plat for the Phase 1, it was dedicated all the way to the end.
and trying to figure out how to pose this question.
While you're thinking about how to pose that one, let me pose one and see if it takes us somewhere else. So would it be, I understand the applicant's concern and Mr. Pereira's about getting a road built without that design. Would it be sufficient, but also understand like a future adjacent neighbor not wanting to pay to build a road on property that's not theirs? Is there an avenue to just post surety to ensure that they pay for the completion of the road at the time? So when it all develops, that this current developer on Nichols Place would agree to pay to finish that portion of the road based on the final alignment.
That's the clearest approach.
Because then you're not putting a financial hardship on somebody next door for the road that wasn't completed to a property line, but leave some opportunity for movements, if something has to change. Just an idea.
So would that mean that the city would take that surety and construct that road, that piece?
No, I think you take the surety with an agreement that they'll pay to get the road built, and then if they don't do it, then you use the surety for the city to put it. But the intention would be that it would just be to hold them to that agreement in the future.
I mean,
You can tell me it's a bad idea. I'm just
my thought process in that, not to cut, it sounds standard, but at that point, you're talking about remobilization for, was it 100 feet?
Something like that, yeah, it's pretty
And
close to it.
you're fully built out.
No, I understand. No, see, I wasn't thinking, I was thinking more of working with whoever develops the Wheeler property.
Yeah.
To reimburse them for for finishing that section, because then you're not dealing with the remobilization, and
Yeah.
they're already out there curb and gutter and paving and all that. So,
I mean, in reality, if we knew exactly, if we knew the tie-in was going to happen here from day one, then we would be taught, like you said originally, we wouldn't have agreed to it stopping at the radius return where it's at. It would have been the property line.
that's right. But there's still this debate of look, if the Wheeler farm doesn't get annexed and it doesn't get developed as we think it's going to, now you're back to the S-curve, trying to come in off the other property.
I know we brought up the surety, but isn't there already a surety that's posted to cover that?
Only that what's improved as shown.
Oh, there's no surety in place to guarantee
How
the
would-
completion of the road to the property line?
Why would there not be?
Because the construction plans stopped the road right there.
I distinctly remember, I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
I distinctly remember when this came through, we talked about a reasonable approach was not to build up to the property line, but we wanted an assurance that it would be built at a later point. So I guess I made a bad assumption that there was a surety in place for that last remaining section of road. But I think what I hear you saying is that the surety amount is only calculated on the improvements that are shown on the plan, which doesn't include that last extension.
That's correct.
Oh, gosh. I didn't realize that.
As I
Right now, there's no
understand.
surety.
There needs to be, there needs to be surety in place.
I mean, the tough thing is I can see it from both sides. I know that's not a solution, but in reality, I mean, if in a perfect world, the road would have been built to the property line.
Well,
I think where we're at today, the most reasonable thing I can come up with is, you give them the option, either build at the property line or provide an agreement that they'll work with the Wheeler property when it redevelops and reimburse them for the cost of the roadway, and also provide a surety in case that doesn't happen, just to ensure that it gets built. But I'd be comfortable with that. But I don't see the sense in making it go all the way until we know for sure where the road has to go, just in case. So, which is the whole reason we didn't do it throughout the process.
I think you'd want to make sure if you're going to do a fee in lieu in that manner, that it would be a fee determined by the engineering department and not the developer of that other site.
Okay.
Just so that it's fair and it's not something that they're just throwing in a number to reimburse.
because the S-curve will cost them more than the straight shot. Yeah, well, that's reasonable. How is that put into a motion?
You amend condition 4 by adding that language to it, and just putting
I'll probably not be the one to make that call. So if I could defer the project to kind of have some time to maybe walk through what that calculation might look like and bring it back next month to kind of have a better game plan.
I think it's good. I'll make a motion to approve the applicant's request for a 30-day deferral.
I've got a motion and a second to approved the request for deferral. Now we can have any further conversations. CJ?
Yeah, I mean, the only other comment I have is, say they do change the alignment. I mean, at that point, I guess it's just up to engineering whether or not they enforce a surety or a fee on them that's yet to be determined.
Talking about for the rest of the Ferguson
Yeah.
to be extended? Well, like I said, I didn't see or go back and hear what the discussion was at the phase 2 and, why the motion was, I mean, I understand the motion. We didn't know the alignment, and so that's why it was made to stop where it is now. So, I mean, that would be up to y'all, the planning commission, to then make them extend it to the property line.
Yeah, I mean, I think hindsight being 2020, we should have required a surety whenever we made the original motion.
I think that was the intent. We just didn't, but since it doesn't show it, we didn't capture it. But I think, the applicants, he's got a request to defer it, let them work it out and have some conversations. And I think they'll be able to do that and come back with a proposal that we can probably work with them on. So,
Okay.
So all in favor of granting the request to defer, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Other business? I don't have anything. Brian, Julian, anything?
No additional business other than like to extend a warm welcome to Steve Fan, our newest council representative on the Planning Commission. Excited to have him on the commission now and looking forward to working with him.
I think this is one of the few things Steve hasn't done around the city. So, so welcome aboard, Steve. Announcements?
Yeah, my pet peeve is people who leave their phone on during movie theaters, funerals, and city meetings. Not in that order necessarily. So sorry, that was me.
Well, we can do it like we do at the airport, where we have a jar. If your phone rings during the meeting, you have to put $100.
There it is.
All right. With that, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second. Got a second. All those in favor of going home, say aye.
Aye.